Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fox 5 on Fox Local, this unscripted news conversation that is intended to feel a little less stuffy than a traditional newscast. I'm Alex Whitler. Thank you so much for tuning in. We, as always, appreciate your time. We are coming to you live from our Fox 5 newsroom, where we're working 24/7 to keep you informed and updated on the happenings in and around the metro Atlanta area. So we are streaming wherever you do so on the free Fox Local app, on fox5atlanta.com. If you go to our landing page, we're streaming live there 24/7. And here's the big one that makes this a conversation. We are live right now on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel that allows me to see your comments in real time. So if there is a story on here that really resonates with you, something you have a question about, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. I will see it as it happens, and I will be able to ask questions for you to try to get some answers. That said, our top story this hour is something that's been happening on I-75 that has really impacted traffic. So essentially, all lanes were shut down not far from Jonesboro Road. They have been opened now, but crews are working to repair some damage. Essentially, there was a hole in an overpass. You can imagine that could be an issue with cars that are tons of weight here driving over them at constant speeds. So overnight, that hole opened up northbound near Jonesboro Road. We had Mark Teichner on it earlier this morning if you were watching Good Day Atlanta. Now we have Fox 5's Eric Perry picking up that baton and telling us where things stand now. Good morning, Eric.
Yeah, good morning, Alex. I'm going to move out of the way. You can see behind me crews, GDOT crews working underneath that overpass here. This is on I-75 heading northbound. This is between Mount Zion Boulevard and Jonesboro Road. Within the past hour or so, GDOT officials tell me that it was essentially that large pothole. At one point, we were thinking maybe a truck or something underneath had hit the bridge or the underpass of this bridge, but that is simply not the case. You can see if we go back up to the top, they're working on the top and the bottom here. Lanes are back open. There's a far right lane that is closed right now, but as you mentioned earlier today, all the lanes were shut down. So, of course, morning traffic, a lot of people here, very busy artery and intersection or busy thoroughfare getting into the city coming from the south, but traffic moving pretty smoothly here, not seeing any backups or anything, but of course all the attention is happening below. When we were kind of passing that baton, as you mentioned, we had heard that they were hoping to have this opened up around 11 o'clock. Doesn't seem like they are finished with whatever work that they're doing, but they did say that there is they're doing temporary fixes, and then there's also permanent damage fixing that they're working on as well here. So giving just a little bit of a context, a very busy Costco is to my left of me or right, and then another intersection, just kind of giving people a sense of where this is here. So the street that is blocked off, or a little section that's blocked off, is not a main highway going underneath. We've seen some people who probably live in the neighborhood on the other side, but they can easily just go around, take Jonesboro Road to get to the other side here. But they're hoping to have this back open or some sort of temporary fix through some point in the next hour or 2 hours there. But the good news here is that the highway is not shut down. So that's the good news, working very quickly here on 75, again heading northbound, southbound, free flowing. Nothing's blocking the southbound lanes here, but this is on the northbound lane, and as you can see, traffic is able to move by, Alex.
That. Thank you. We do want to pivot now because it's my understanding that there is a hearing taking place right now for the man accused of planning an attack at the world's busiest airport. I've got Fox 5's Lindsay Tuman on standby because she's going to give us a little more insight into what happened. But if we can, I want to pull this hearing up live because we know that he faces some very serious charges. So let's see if we can listen in. Sounds like we're still working to get that connected, but Lindsay, it's great that we've got you on standby here because, gosh, what an awful situation this could have been. We call Atlanta's airport the world's busiest airport for a reason, because it tracks out to be. And this man apparently was on FaceTime with his family when he said he wanted to, and I quote here, rat-a-tat-tat at the airport. His family called authorities. So what else can you tell us about that moment? And have you heard anything from how people have felt about this?
So I think a lot of the new details that we've gotten have come from the Department of Justice releasing what their charges are and why they place them. And part of that was hearing more details about the phone call to family members that this man made. So this is all concerning Billy Joe Cagle, who of course was arrested earlier this week at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport as a result of that really interactive and quick thinking from law enforcement. So this started when Cartersville police had someone come into the police station, notifying them about, warning them that their family member was ready to potentially go inside and open fire. That person being Billy Joe Cagle, who we know also is a convicted felon. So according to this information that we've gotten from the Department of Justice, they say that Cagle senselessly threatened to do heinous violence to innocent travelers at the world's busiest airport with a high-powered weapon that he had no legal right to possess. Now, one of the interesting things that we've really learned from law enforcement is how all of this played out. They got that information, of course, from the family members, Cartersville police, then making a frantic but calm phone call to law enforcement in Atlanta and at the airport, notifying them that this person was coming and could potentially do some serious harm. Now, what Atlanta police said during a press conference yesterday is that when they got this phone call, they didn't realize Cagle was already there. He was already at the airport. So they were on alert looking for him. A quick thinking action by Atlanta police officers to put out that description of him, which then led to that quick arrest. What we're showing you right now is some video of the truck that was located outside. And there you see police officers pulling out a weapon from that vehicle too, an AR-15, as well as 27 rounds of ammunition for that firearm as well. We also heard from the officers who put out that information, made the quick action about the urgency of the situation. If we can play some of their sound for you.
As you're getting it, Tawana, don't write it down. Just give it out right now, so the officers can hear what you're hearing. And that's exactly what I did. My heart was beating fast. I'm like, okay, I haven't heard any gunshots, anything go off, so we're good right now. Let's just get that information out to prevent that from happening.
After everything calmed down, I realized I know why I'm a police officer. I know why I'm here, and I serve at Atlanta Police Department. I'm here to serve and protect. I'm here to give protection to the airport and make sure that everyone's safe in their travel. And that's a big deal for me.
Impressive to hear from those law enforcement officers. Now, one thing, Alex, that's really interesting, shows the dedication of these two women, but so many people on the force. But one of those women that we heard from, she's entering her final 6 months of 30 years serving for Atlanta Police. Thinking about all that experience, all that she's gone through, and then knowing the difference that she made on this day, it really wows you, it blows you away.
Oh, it really does. And just to humanize this a little bit more, I think of it as that final lap, when you're a senior in high school or college and people kind of start to get a little lazy. With that job, you can't do that.
No.
You don't have an opportunity to say, I'm just going to coast and lift my hands. With just a few months left on the job, she's out here saving who knows how many lives.
Yeah, I mean, at a minimum, we know that they definitely made very quick action, and just hearing the urgency that all of them had, the way that they felt the panic but kept it calm in order to really relay all that they needed to. Now, one thing I do want to add is we do know the federal charges that Cagle is facing, which include attempted violence at an international airport, possession of a firearm by a felon, and communicating threats. Those are the federal charges. We're still waiting, of course, on the court date.
And we've mentioned at the beginning of this news conversation that this is a 24/7 live newsroom. Our managing editor just walked over and said that he is now in federal custody. Clayton County judge just announced that. So we wanted to bring you that information live. We can tell you now that we are still waiting to hear what happens in the next phase in this process. So Lindsay Tuman, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Okay, we still have a lot to talk about this late morning as we head on into the afternoon. So Lindsay, we'll see you a bit later, but I do want to go ahead and call up Jonathan Stacy because I know that we have some fall-like temperatures to talk about. I said that we've been spoiled. Some people say we just haven't been treated the right way from Mother Nature. People are still hoping for a little more rain out there. We did get some, but not enough to quell some of these drought concerns that people have been mentioning. So Jonathan, what are you seeing out there?
I don't see a solid chance for rain is what I don't see.
Okay.
I see plenty of sunshine. Sunshine has finally returned to the area after A brief shutout yesterday with clouds and a few showers rolling through. Some communities got a decent pouring, but by and large, it wasn't much at all. We started out this morning on a fairly chilly note after a front passed through yesterday. Temperatures overnight fell down into the 40s and low 50s, 53 the starting temperature here in Atlanta. Up north, you find 30s and 40s to start your Wednesday, but the mercury is on the move thanks to abundant sunshine. We're managing to defeat winds out of the northwest, eventing in not only drier air, but also some cooler air. Right now, the temperature stands at 64 degrees. That's here in Covington, leading the way. Eaton at 66 degrees, but still hanging out in the 50s from Canton to Gainesville, all the way up into Blairsville. So how will things turn out for the day? Well, it's going to be the ideal day for October. It's October 22nd, and where should we be for this time of the year? Well, we should reach a high of 72, 73 degrees. So we're on the money in terms of how things should really feel. By afternoon, we're still below average in terms of the overnight low temperatures. And tonight will be no different as we turn down into the 40s and even some 30s popping up in the higher elevations. When you put Wednesday together, it's all in all a great day. Yes, a chill by morning, but still some reasonable warmth by afternoon. Mostly clear skies all day long. At times, those winds may act up a bit, but they shouldn't bother too much. In fact, they should die down as the day grows on. That 11 o'clock advisory just in for Tropical Storm Melissa as it continues to basically sit in place between Aruba to the south and the islands of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico to the north. It's moving at about 2 miles an hour. It's not moving at all, essentially, but you can see that northerly component there showing that the direction is starting to shift. The issue is that as the storm sits and even grazes those northern islands, they're adding up in terms of rainfall, and this situation is going to only get worse. So let's just jump to the bottom line. The storm formed yesterday. It's still a tropical storm. We're not looking at a rapid intensification situation here. It will likely become a Cat 1 or Cat 2 hurricane by weekend, but where's the impact going to be? Hispaniola, Jamaica, Cuba. You say, you're the meteorologist, why are you raising this question? Well, when I do my little meteorological stuff over here, you're going to see why. Let's take a look at these spaghetti blocks. They have gone crazy. Some take it further to the west, others take it directly to the north. Obviously, that to the north track or that northern trajectory would mean that impacts will be felt at their greatest along the southern coast of Hispaniola, specifically impacting the country of Haiti. Dominican Republic included in the bunch there. However, there's generally been a shift to the west, and the National Hurricane Center's forecast is now reflecting that shift of the modeling westward. So let's take a look at this cone here. And to call it a cone is just using historical terminology here, because this is no cone, this is a bubble.
Yeah.
Look at that turn there once again to the west as it continues to move to the north. But as we get deeper into the weekend, Saturday into Sunday, that Cat 2, that's a new update with that 11 a.m. advisory, it firmly puts Jamaica inside the cone. Now, we know this is going to change, especially with modeling that is so inconsistent, just to be quite blunt about it. Here's the deal. It's not a matter of wind with this situation. It's a matter of where does the most intense rain bands sit. So the storm is going to move, meander. We're talking about maybe some 50 miles over the next 5 days. But it's all about where it ultimately decides to camp out, and then what position are the islands of Jamaica and Hispaniola on in relation to its actual position. So it's always the right side that's the dirty side of the storm. So look here, if the storm sits up based on the way the modeling is right now, the ire is going to be on the Dominican Republic and Haiti, specifically over a mountainous region that does not do well with heavy rainfall. You're talking about up to 21 inches of rainfall over the next 4 to 5 day period. That means that flash floods and mudslides all over the place. It would be pervasive there. But we can't even rule out the, once again, the eastern tip of Cuba for some possible impacts down there. And Alex, like many of our viewers, you and I have both spent time at probably all of those islands.
Still waiting on Jamaica.
Yeah,
Haven't
still
made it
waiting
to
on Jamaica
yet.
there.
Yeah.
But if you are able, just trying to draw some connections here to what you may understand at home or wherever you may be at this hour, if you've been outside the resort areas or outside the kind of the tourist bubble, you understand one thing about the rural areas in Cuba and in Hispaniola. The infrastructure is not like it is here in the United States. So there's only so much that these locations can take to sustain what they already have going. And so this is going to be a copious rainmaker. Once again, we're not concerned about the winds or how high they will go at this point, but it's all about the positioning and the track of this storm and where it stops. Now, I will show you this one last thing, Alex, before we leave you here.
Okay.
I want to take out the spaghetti plots. And okay, we see how they're kind of divergent to a degree, but I want you to follow a couple models that are going far to the west, one even taking the storm over the Cayman Islands. There's another one joining it as well and looks to make a path through, potentially.
Is this essentially showing us that no one really knows this storm's path? Is that what this is trying to
tells
indicate?
us that the path is uncertain. But I want you to see those two models there that go over the Cayman Islands or nearby. If it takes the path through western Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula, it puts it in the Gulf, and that changes the story for everybody, especially across the western and the southern United
It
States.
certainly does.
So don't let your guard down is essentially what we're saying altogether.
Yeah,
if you have
stay
travel
tuned,
plans or
essentially.
interests,
Yeah.
in Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, yes, those impacts are going to be immediate within the next 72 hours. They'll come to fruition. We'll figure out there. But if that thing starts jogging further and further to the north, the waters are warm enough. There's not really a lot of frontal action. That thing is going to take a path that could take it once again into the Gulf. And that's just a totally different story.
Yeah, and that's why I say stay tuned. That means
Yes.
you need to pay attention just in case it does
Just
take
in
that
case.
specific route.
And the deal is, Alex, that would be, look at the model. It says Sunday midnight. So we'd have the remainder of the day Sunday to go. When a storm gets in the Gulf, here's the deal. It has nowhere to go except to make landfall. It's going to make landfall somewhere. Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, a slither of Alabama, Florida. Where does he go after that? Well, we know Milton, Helene, Michael, they all found their ways in different paths, but they impacted inland and interior areas, and that same thing could happen here.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate that breakdown, Jonathan. And I've learned a new phrase, spaghetti plots. I
Spaghetti plots.
appreciate that.
It looks like an Italian plate.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Jonathan. I do want to take a quick moment, if I can, to acknowledge those of you who are watching on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. Thank you so much for participating in this news conversation. I see the story that resonated this section of news was that a attempted mass shooting, that foiled plot at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. I see many of you are saying that those officers did a great job jumping in, and people are even concerned about the city's infrastructure. That's something that we're going to stay on top of for you, and we do appreciate your interest. But please stick around because we've got some other stuff to talk about this hour. Yeah, we're going to talk about Halloween, but how it impacts your pets, okay? And if you're interested in getting a pet, we might have some information for you in that regard too. Please stick around. Hey there, welcome back to Fox 5 Live on Fox Local. I really appreciate your time this morning, especially those of you who are watching on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. You guys are key to making this a news conversation. I can see your comments in real time, and that gives us a sense of the stories that you're most interested in and the ones that we should focus more on. But that said, we do want to bring in Dr. David Hallworth, who is going to talk with us about how to keep Halloween fun, not just for you, but also for your pets. And if we're lucky, his little furry friend might just scurry across the background here. Good morning. Thanks for jumping online with us.
Good morning. It's great to be here. Thanks for the
Yeah,
opportunity.
of course. So I don't have a pet right now anyway. I did grow up with a couple of dogs, but they didn't
Mhm.
have issues throughout Halloween, except for maybe getting fired up with all of the doorbell ringing, kids laughing. But other than that, they were pretty calm. What are some of the issues, though, that people do experience as it relates to their
Sure.
pets?
Yeah, well, every pet is different, right? Every pet has their own personality and how they were brought up in the world, what's normal for them. But if you think about Halloween, it can be a pretty scary time for your pet. Not scary in the good way either. There's people in costumes that are meant to be scary. There's things, lawn ornaments that jump at them. So it's really a question of taking the temperature of your own pet, knowing them well enough, and then there's the real physical dangers to pets. First of all, you're opening the door an awful lot on if you've got an active trick or treat neighborhood, and that means there's chances to bolt and get out. And of course, that's a scary thing for families and for the pets. There's lots of people out. And then, secondly, the biggest danger is candy. We all know that chocolate is bad for dogs and it's actually toxic. There's also other sweeteners like aspartame, which is highly toxic to dogs and used. So it it's absolutely normal. Kids get big boxes and big bags of chocolate. They spill them out on the floor. Just make sure that we're keeping our pets safe, keeping aware of where they are and what they're getting into.
Okay. So I saw in our email conversation this word enrichment, right?
Right.
I never thought to use that word as it relates to our pets. So for those who are just now tuning in who've never heard it in this capacity, what do you mean by that?
Sure. Environmental enrichment is just what we say in making a place that the dog is, their sensitivities are being taken care of as well. And I don't mean to get too far into this, but it really is if your dog is crate trained, Halloween's a pretty good night for them to stay in the crate. If your dog is has a special room, like maybe a back bedroom, maybe that's a good night to let them have that safe place all by themselves. And then on top of that, so that they're not having to react to the doorbell every time it rings or to the knock on the door, maybe give them some loud music or stream video specifically made for dogs. There's a
Huh.
product called Dog TV, which is a
Yeah.
streaming service that you can just have. They've got free, I think about 10 hours of calming video. Some dogs don't seem to watch it, but a lot of dogs do, and it calms them down and gives them a safe place.
Okay. So let's talk about then more of that sensory programming because I
Sure.
have seen people who are very much so in love with their fur babies and they've got the entire setup. They don't want to leave their dog unless there's jazz playing in the background. Yes, I'm calling out one of my friends who has a dog named Libby who loves jazz. How do you figure these things out?
Well, you know your dog. You might remember this from growing up with him, but most of the time, you know if your dog is having a good time or a bad time. I'll tell you right now, my hey,
Oh, how sweet. Who is this?
this is Breckenridge,
Hi,
and we've got a
Breckenridge.
lot of activity around our house right now. We happen to be moving homes, so she is not a happy girl today.
No.
So she's going to stick with me all day long, right next to my side. And it's a way of being tuned into your animal. And if she likes jazz, I think Libby should have as much Coltrane as she can handle. Um, I do know a lot of people tend to leave, say, the radio on or even a YouTube on, but I would just caution us that occasionally those in YouTube you get the ads with the sirens and screaming and really loud noises, and so just maybe being conscious of having something that is uninterrupted. If it's a playlist of jazz or classical music or something on the calmer side of things, usually dogs tend to respond. If nothing else, you're drowning out those other maybe scarier noises for dogs like thunder or backfires from
Mhm,
cars or
mhm.
but the kinds of things we know that dogs tend to react pretty heavily to.
I appreciate that you're mentioning some of these hazards, if you will, that have nothing to do with Halloween. And I say that knowing that the topic here is Halloween hazards, but I'm also reading some of our comments on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel in real time. Not everybody loves Halloween. Some people have nothing to do with it. They completely ignore the holiday. They keep their lights off and they're not handing out candy or dressing up. So you are mentioning some concerns that could be for any given day, someone just going to work, their dog being left home alone, or maybe they're considering getting a pet and they just aren't used to all of the things that come along with being a dog mom or dad. So I appreciate you saying all of this for us. Is there anything else that people should know, especially as we head on into this holiday season?
Well, as we go into the holidays, dogs really appreciate schedules. They like it when things are regular, when people get up at the right time, go to bed at the right time, they get their walks on the right time. They can't predict that school is going to be out on Friday or that the family is coming in for the holidays. So helping them through that process, and just keeping them on their needs and the way that they perceive the world top of mind is really a great thing to help them stay healthy and happy and safe during this holiday season.
Well, we certainly do appreciate your time. You and your furry friend, please remind me, what was your dog's name again?
Her name's Breckenridge.
Oh,
She's very into
Breckenridge.
things. Right,
She's
girl?
so cute. Do you ever have a nickname for her? BR?
Oh, it's Breck.
Breck.
Oh, it's
Perfect.
Breck. Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Breck, natural girl.
Well, thank you both so much for your time. I hope you're enjoying your late morning and afternoon. It looks like a beautiful setup behind you.
It is. It's a nice neighborhood, and this neighborhood gets into Halloween, I tell you.
Oh, I bet. I can imagine the ways people can turn those porches into a haunted house.
Exactly right. Exactly
Well,
right.
thank you so much, Dr. Hallworth. Maybe we'll see you
You bet.
sometime soon.
I hope so. Have a great day. Thanks,
You
everybody.
as well, of course. Well, staying on the topic of pets here, we want to bring in Chris Rosenthal, one of our master Fox 5 photographers, who is talking about a facility in Lawrenceville that should be of interest for those of you who are on the fence, considering about either becoming a dog mom, cat mom, or dad, or maybe you're someone who already has a pet and you think you might want to add another one. So good morning to you, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, Alex. Yeah, I'm at the Paw Project of Georgia here in Lawrenceville. This is their new facility. They've been in here since about September, and you don't really want to see me. You want to see animals. So,
we like to
they
see
just
you
got
too.
Yeah, well, they got these
so
pups here,
cute.
4 pups here, just literally about the past 10 minutes. They brought these in from Livonia. This is John B. So,
Oh, John B.
getting him and John B, yeah. Hey, John. So him and some others down here, they literally just brought them in. So now let's see if we can get a look here. They'll be getting these guys ready for adoption as well. Getting them ready for, of course, they got to get them spayed and neutered and check vaccines, all those different things. Make sure that they are ready. But I'm here with this is Jane Stewart. She is with the Paw Project Georgia. And tell me, first of all, you guys had a new facility. I mean, talk to me about why you need a new facility and what you guys do.
Yes, well, we started in 22, and we were in Duluth at a much smaller facility, and we've just grown so fast. We have a veterinary clinic that sees minor illness, vaccines, that kind of thing. We do blood work, and we just basically do not have an x-ray machine. But we also have a spay-neuter program, so we operate a spay-neuter clinic out of here as well. And we've seen more than 17,000 animals in our clinic since 22. And we have done over 7,000 surgeries. The surgery aspect of it started really in 23, so that's been even less time. And we also do adoptions, so these guys are available for adoption. They're 4 little boys that came from Lithonia, but Livonia, not Lithonia. I get those two confused. But yeah, we will get them vaccinated and spay or neutered. It's 3 boys, so and then they'll be ready to go. Hopefully,
Since we opened in 2022, we have done like 1,500 adoptions.
Wow.
So-
And you do these at a lower cost, and that
We do.
really helps the community. Talk to me about that.
Yes, we do. We as founders, we could see that we've been in the animal rescue and animal medicine, medical industry for a long time. And we could see that one of the main reasons animals end up getting dropped off at animal control is that the owner can't afford their veterinary care and also can't afford to have them spay or neutered, which cuts down on the number of unwanted animals, of course. So we felt like if we made this thing happen, that we would have a lot of clients that needed our service, and we really do. And so we basically, our main goal is to cut down on the number of animals that are euthanized at animal control facilities, and keep them in their, we try to keep them in their homes, right? But we do also, through the rescue program, pull animals in need from many places around the state of Georgia, but these happen to come from a rural shelter up in Livonia.
Now, all of this costs money, so you guys
does.
have a fundraiser coming up. Tell me about that.
Yes, we do. We have a chili cook-off. It's our second annual chili cook-off. It's going to be at Slow Pour Brewing right here in Lawrenceville on November 1st from 12 to 4. And you can come out, if you like chili, you can come out and taste some chili. We'll have animals for adoption, cats and dogs, and lots of fun for the family. We'll have face painting and pictures and a lot of fun that afternoon. And we have a huge raffle also at it that will help us raise some much needed funding.
And you know, I understand, you know, people can still help out. You're still looking for chili cookers and
We are.
donations, obviously.
Yes, we always need donations, but and you can find a wish list on our website, which is pawprojectofgeorgia.org. But we do need a few more cookers. We're up to, I think, 11 now, so that's good. And we just need you to come out and have a good time. That's what we're going to do that day. Last year we had about 250 people show, so that was good for us, and we're going to try to make that number larger this year. So.
Absolutely, yeah, Alex. So that's you can come on out and support a good cause, and you know, maybe meet a couple guys like this, and maybe even take one home.
Yeah,
I've had a
that'd be
song
awesome.
in my heart ever since you introduced me to John B. Do you know it, Chris? I think you know the song.
I
don't know
maybe you can sing it. So.
About you and me. I'm not going to do it to you. I'm not going to do it to you. I can't sing. God knows I can't. But we appreciate all the work John B. has done for the culture, and we know that
new
that
surrounding
dog
for him.
is going to
He's
get a
taking it all
home
in.
very soon. Thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate it. Okay, hopefully you all will stick around because we do have some serious news to talk about. I know that was a lot of fun. We were talking about Halloween, talking about pets, how you can bring one home. But now we want to know what's happening with our government. What's the government shutdown latest? We've got answers for you right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Fox 5 on Fox Local. As promised, I want to give you an update on the government shutdown. The long story short is our government still doesn't have a funding plan. At last check, Republicans and Democrats were still far apart on coming together on a deal. They had voted for the 11th time, and unfortunately, Republicans still need about 5 votes in order to move this forward. So you're taking a live look at current conditions as lawmakers on Capitol Hill try to come together on a plan here. So the House and the Senate have passed 3 separate appropriations bills, but they've yet to sync up and pass the same version of any spending measure. That's a major concern because people are going without their paychecks. And of course, even if they were to come together, that really only funds the government until just before Thanksgiving. So then after that, I believe it's November 21st, there are still big questions about what would happen for our government. And of course, the federal employees who need to get paid. We'll have more on that for you as it becomes available. But we do want to pivot now and talk about scams, because that's a big talker lately, especially considering on this very stream, we've mentioned how Americans have missed out or lost billions of dollars to them. They're missing out because of AI. They're missing out because somebody called and it sounded like their loved one. People are pretending to be your own bank. It just feels like everybody wants your money all the time. So that said, here to give us some more about the anatomy of a scam, how to prevent yourself from losing out your hard-earned money, is Sarah Gosler, a cybersecurity expert. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Of course. So if you could, can you just jump right on in and start with this situation, AI and deep fakes, how they are really changing the scamming game here?
Sure. So, AI is not something new, but AI being as widespread as it is, absolutely is. I like to often say AI is effectively democratizing cybercrime. So what does that mean? It means that it's making cybercrime more accessible. You don't have to be a 4-year or graduate degreed computer science person anymore to learn how to commit cybercrimes. And so as a result of that, a stat that I always like to talk about is every 30 seconds somewhere in the world, a cyber attack is happening. And then the other factor is because AI and deepfakes make cyber attacks so real and you can commit them at scale, right? It's very easy to use AI, do some research. We like to talk about them as digital blueprints of people. So you can leverage AI, you can do your homework, you can quickly find out where somebody went to school, who their family is, write very convincing emails, and then do something called phishing, which is where you send them a malicious email that gets them to click a link, open a PDF, or even in a worst case scenario, it's to click a link and enter your credentials into something. And so because AI is allowing individuals and existing cyber criminals and new entrants to cyber criminals, consumers and the general public just needs to be aware of what's going on out there and how to protect themselves.
So there's been a lot of data that's been breached, especially on the dark web. I remember when I was first hearing about this, it didn't make any sense. What do you mean dark web? How are everyday people accessing it? But now it's become such a regular thing that we're used to talking about it. So can we talk about all of the ways that people are trying to make themselves look legitimate? I mentioned some of them with banks, but what else are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think hopefully your average person is not accessing the dark web. But to your point, I mean, if somebody wants to look for it hard enough, they certainly can. When cyber criminals hack into large databases, they can amass a lot of what we call PII, or personal information. And that's what gets stored in the dark web, and it's traded like currency. It's bought and sold. And when you get access to that, again, there's what's available in public forums, so you can go and search and figure out where, like I said, where someone went to school, where they work. But then, in the dark web, you can access information like social security numbers and account numbers and things of that nature. And that just only serves to create even more real, like what we call it social engineering. So social engineering spans the breadth of what's phishing, so what we talked about with emails, There's something called vishing, which is voice calls, where if I called you, it wasn't me, but it sounded like me because somebody took a recording of me online and was able to perfectly mimic my voice. And then there's also, as we talked about, deep fakes, so both audio and visual, where you can, and you see them all the time. There's, I think it's something that celebrities are dealing with, where it's very easy to deep fake them and have them say whatever it is that the cyber criminal wants to say. But the truth is, it doesn't just apply to celebrities, it applies to business executives, it applies to everyday people. And the thing that's happened, particularly because of AI, is that what once used to be a technology problem, that's kind of how we thought about cyber, then became a business problem. But in 2025, it is an everybody problem. Something that's a pretty staggering statistic is that this year alone, the economic impact of cybercrime will reach $10.5 trillion. I'll kind of pause on that, but that's at least three times our GDP. Just so business is booming, and it is bringing a lot of new entrants into the market.
I want to circle back on some actionable items for those who are watching, especially those of you on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. Good morning. Thank you so much for watching. I see Charles is saying hi. I see Nestor has had some comments here, and CC Darling. I mention that because if people have questions for you about cybersecurity, the fact that this is an awareness month and how they can better protect themselves, they can do so now, and I can relay that question to you, an expert. But that said, those actionable items for people to protect themselves, when you say that your social security number could be out there on the dark web, how do you stop people from accessing it?
So there's a number of ways. First of all, you have to be really careful with what you put out there, right? So certainly, absolutely, 1000%, never share your password, never share confidential information like account numbers or social security. Also, you should, just as a good practice, I always like to recommend freezing your credit, making sure that identity theft is real. You can work with any of the credit agencies to make sure that no one can make movement without authorization from you. Some other things that I think are important is account monitoring, setting up alerts. If you get one of those notifications that you've been involved in a data breach, definitely call the entity in which that happened, report it to the local authorities, both police, FBI, and then also to the FTC. So there's a number of ways of reporting. And the other thing I would say is if you find yourself in the middle of whether it's someone's calling you or emailing you and you suspect something suspicious, you should absolutely hang up right away. Don't further engage, and then make sure that depending on what entity they're representing, you actually call the number, the original number on the website, and make sure that you're talking to that company specifically. I always like to say, if you see something, say something, and most importantly, trust your gut. What's going on in today's world, this idea of manipulation and deception, it's been going on throughout history. But back to your point, because of AI, it's now happening at scale and very, very quickly. And so the best thing that we can do, and you mentioned Cyber Awareness Month, it is. Cyber Awareness Month is all of October. But what's important is being cyber aware can't just be a moment in time, and it can't just be for 1 month. It has to be a continual event that you think about, on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, and so that you're always vigilant in protecting yourself and your loved ones.
I want to talk about this. You heard me mentioning the government shutdown at the beginning of this chunk of news, but I also posted something on my social media not too long ago about government shutdown scams. I mean, the scammers just don't have any chill. They will approach any opportunity they can to try to access your money. So in this case, we're learning, they know people don't know which agencies are shut down during this government shutdown. They know that people don't understand what it is they can and cannot do. So can you speak more to how crafty these people are and how they are doing things in a timely manner?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the hard part, right? So when you're going up against criminals, they don't play by the same rules, right? And they are constantly looking for opportunity. So things like the government shutdown, or think about all of the scams that happen during tax season. Another example, I saw the very cute puppy on the segment before me. People impersonate animal shelters, and so they're constantly looking for ways, particularly that either pull on heartstrings, create a sense of fear, create a sense of urgency, and are looking to manipulate people in those circumstances. So again, the best thing that you can do is stay informed, stay educated. If you get a call from somebody out of the blue, like let's say, you know, a government entity or a bank or you know, a company, you should really question, have they ever called me before? Like an example of financial institutions, they're not going to call you directly. You should always hang up and call back the number. I would say the same thing is true with any government agency. It's always better to trust but verify. And the way that you verify is you look on the website, get the actual number, and make sure that you're reaching out to the entity that you think you are.
I joke that we are constantly doing two different kinds of stories here at Fox 5, either on the air or on our local streaming services. One of them is car break-ins. That's separate from what we're talking about right now. But the other is this, scams. And it feels like we're saying the same things on repeat. People can get cynical and feel like, I've heard this already, Fox 5. Why do you keep banging this over my head? I've heard it before. Why is it so important that we keep getting this information out there as a reminder?
Well, one thing I would say is it's important to continually get the information out, but also do it in ways like you are that are engaging, right? When it comes to something that we focus on a lot is cyber training. And one thing that we do is we don't want to do kind of the typical, you know, test where you just click a bunch of answers and move forward. It's actually about creating immersive situations where people can understand what they're up against and giving them memorable facts. Again, an interesting thing when it comes to training is you have a 90% better retention rate when training is immersive. And so one of the things that I encourage folks to do is find ways to be immersed in the information, actively seek it out. And you know, again, to your point, yes, we continue to say the same things, but as I said at the start, you know, cyber attack is happening every 30 seconds. It's not going away for the foreseeable future. And by the way, as AI continues to get more and more sophisticated, the scale and speed is just going to increase. So, you know, whether it's for you yourself, your kids, your parents, anyone in your loved ones, it's just important to stay in front of them and continue to have that dialogue. The other thing, just an interesting tip that I will add, is it's really good within families and trusted circles to always have a safe word. So if somebody is asking you to move money or do something of that nature, you should have a special word with your family where you can, I'm making this up, but let's say you get a call from your brother and they ask you to move $5,000. You want to ask your brother what your safe word is and have that pre-planned ahead of time. That's another way of helping to combat deep fakes and other types of AI social engineering.
That's a really good tip. It sounds childish, like when a kid would be at the jungle gym and they hold their arms out and say, "What's the password?" But it's unfortunately something that we've got to do in this digital age.
That's exactly it. You know, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, I actually had a safe word where my parents would say, you know, if someone other than us comes in and picks you up, this is the word that you use. And it's interesting, so many years later, it's now back at the forefront and something that's important. And again, you know, you have to remember the attackers are building profiles on their targets. And so you want to think of things that they wouldn't otherwise know. In terms of having a safe word.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And it did circle back around life-wise, as you put it, but in a different way. Now it's not just getting picked up from school or making sure no one's kidnapping your child. Now it's, how do I keep people, as we have on our banner here, out of our digital wallets? So we really appreciate your time, Sarah. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Of course. Well, hopefully you all will stick around, and I hope you've enjoyed that conversation. Got some news you can use here, but please stick with us for the other part of this news conversation. It's a good one. We're talking about programs as we approach another awareness month. We're talking about Down Syndrome Awareness Month right after this. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Alex Whitler with Fox 5 Live on Fox Local. Thank you so much for your time. I bet you didn't realize October was home to so many different awareness months. People know breast cancer, and we just talked about cybersecurity awareness, but now we're talking about Down syndrome. Down Syndrome Awareness Month. There's a new program that aims to improve health care for adults living with this genetic syndrome. So here to talk about it all is Dr. Chacon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having us today.
Of course. So can you tell me about this program? What is it, and how can people get involved?
So it's an online free clinical education and resource hub designed for healthcare professionals. Families and people with Down syndrome came to the National Down Syndrome Society and basically said, you know, they're looking for health care from providers that are more informed as well as more respectful of people with Down syndrome. And so the National Down Syndrome Society has developed this project and provided a lot of information for healthcare professionals.
I like to try to humanize these interviews. I'm curious, how is it that you got involved with this organization?
So I'm a medical director of a clinic in the Chicago area for Advocate Medical Group Adult Down Syndrome Center, and we've been serving adolescents and adults with Down syndrome since 1992. And I was real interested at this point in really addressing the need that only clinics like ours really only able to care for about 5% of adults with Down syndrome in the United States. So how can we help those individuals that are cared for in the community by the other 95%? And so really wanted to develop a tool that healthcare professionals in the community could learn more about taking care of adults with Down syndrome and provide them better informed care.
And what is it specifically that these adults need that is so important?
Well, I mean, to go back to really what they were asking, and I think the first thing is they were asking for care that was better informed, and there's a number of health conditions that are more common in people with Down syndrome, and there are some health conditions that are less common. So it's really important to understand what those are, and also understand how some conditions might present differently in people with Down syndrome than they do in others. And so really understanding that can help us as healthcare professionals better diagnose and better treat the individuals with Down syndrome. But also they were looking for care that was respectful, and there are a number of issues that can improve a physician's ability to provide that respectful care, and we address this in the program.
Gosh, it sounds like there are a lot of different needs here. I wish we had more time to break this down. With just a couple of seconds left, how can people find more information about this new program?
Yeah, it's a website, careds.org, and we encourage not only healthcare professionals to look at it, but families and people with Down syndrome to go to it as well, and then share it with their healthcare professionals.
Well, thank you so much. I really do mean it when I say that. I wish we had more time to talk about this because I learned something new from you. But hopefully this won't be the last time we speak. We will keep in touch.
I appreciate it. Thanks for doing this.
Of course, and thank you as well. And thank you, all of you who've been watching wherever you stream, whether on a Roku, a Fire TV, Fox5Atlanta.com, or even our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel. I appreciate every single one of you who helped make this a news conversation. I'll see you again next Wednesday, and stick around because Fox 5 News at noon starts right after this.
Well, check this out. A sinkhole on an I-75 overpass stops traffic this morning. What we know about the chaotic scene. And opening statements